When I walked into the church, everyone froze. My sister had married, pretending to be me. The collective gasp was so loud it echoed off the stained glass windows. As my identical twin stood at the altar in my wedding dress, next to my fiancé, both of their faces draining of color. If this story shocks you, please like, follow, and share this with someone who needs to hear that betrayal doesn't get to have the final word. Trust me, you'll want to know how this ends. I'm Naomi, 32, single mother to my beautiful 6-year-old daughter Zoe. My twin sister Natalie and I were inseparable growing up, same face, different souls, my mother always said. Where I was cautious, she was reckless. Where I saved, she spent. But I loved her fiercely despite her flaws. The day my life shattered started like any other. I was preparing for my wedding to Marcus, my partner of 5 years, the man who'd helped me rebuild after Zoe's father abandoned us. The man who looked at my daughter like she was his own. Mommy, when is Auntie Nat coming to help with your dress? Zoe asked that morning, her small fingers tracing the beadwork on my wedding gown. Soon, baby. She promised she'd be here. I replied, checking my phone again. No messages, no calls, typical Natalie. But deep down, a memory stirred. Natalie, 16, wearing my prom dress without permission. I just wanted to feel pretty too. She cried when I found it crumpled in her closet. I shook off the thought. We were adults now. She was my maid of honor. My twin. My best friend. Until she wasn't. The first sign something was wrong came when my mother called, voice trembling. Naomi. But, how are you calling me? I just saw you walking down the aisle. My blood ran cold. Mom, what are you talking about? I'm at home. The wedding isn't until tomorrow. Silence. Then, oh my God. It's Natalie, isn't it? I've never driven so fast in my life. Zoe clutched to her car's seat behind me, confused tears streaming down her face. Mommy, why are we going to church today? Why are you crying? The church parking lot was full. My friends, my family, all gathered for a wedding I didn't know was happening. My wedding today. Without me. I burst through the heavy wooden doors just as the minister said, if anyone can show just cause why this couple cannot lawfully be joined together in matrimony. And that's when everyone saw me, the real me, standing at the back of the church in jeans and a sweater, my daughter's hand in mine. The minister stopped mid-sentence. Marcus's eyes widened in horror, darting between me and the woman beside him, my sister in my custom-made gown. Her hair styled exactly like mine. The engagement ring I left on my nightstand glittering on her finger. Natalie, Marcus whispered, stumbling back. Then who? My sister, my twin. My blood didn't even look ashamed. She looked annoyed, as if I'd interrupted a movie she was enjoying. You're ruining everything. She hissed, as usual. That's when I noticed something even more sickening. The way Marcus was looking at her, confused, yes, but not completely surprised, not completely innocent. My mother rushed to my side as whispers erupted throughout the church. Naomi, I'm so sorry. We all thought she looked exactly like you. She said you wanted to move the wedding up. But I couldn't hear anymore. Because Marcus was stepping toward me now, his face a mask of guilt and panic. Naomi, please, I can explain. She came to me last month, she said. Stop. My voice didn't sound like my own. Not another word, not in front of my daughter. Natalie finally spoke. Loud enough for everyone to hear. He didn't even notice, Naomi. For weeks, your own fiancé couldn't tell the difference between us. What does that tell you about your precious relationship? The silence that followed was deafening. I felt every eye on me, waiting to see what I would do. Run, scream, collapse. Instead, I looked down at my daughter, whose confused eyes were filling with tears. I squeezed her hand and whispered, we're going to be okay. Then I looked back at my sister and the man I thought I knew. The future I thought was mine. I want everything of mine out of the apartment by tonight, I said to Marcus, my voice steady despite the earthquake inside me. And Natalie. Mom was wrong. We don't have the same soul. I would never do this to you. I turned to leave, dignity intact. When Marcus called out, Naomi, please, I love you, I stopped but didn't turn around. If you can't tell the difference between loving someone and betraying them, then you never knew me at all. As I walked back down that aisle, not as a bride, but as a woman whose life had just imploded, I heard the murmurs, saw the pitying glances. Poor Naomi. How humiliated she must be. But they were wrong. I wasn't humiliated. I was awakening. Because as I buckled Zoe into her car seat, my hands shaking so badly I could hardly manage the straps, my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. Hello? I answered, my voice hollow. Naomi. A woman's voice. This is Elaine, Marcus's colleague. I already knew what she was going to say before the words came. The sickening pieces were falling into place. I think there are things you need to know, she continued. Things about your sister and Marcus. I'm so sorry, but this didn't just start last month. As she spoke, I felt something hardening inside me. This betrayal went deeper than I'd imagined, much deeper, and I realized I had a choice to make. I could fall apart, or I could fight back. My daughter's future, our future, depended on what I did next. If you're as shocked as I was, like this video now and follow for the next part where you'll discover exactly how long this betrayal had been happening and the first step I took to reclaim my life. I looked at my reflection in the rearview mirror. For the first time, I was glad to see my own face, because I was about to show them both exactly who they'd underestimated. Elaine met me at a coffee shop the next morning, as she slid a manila folder across the table. Her eyes were filled with pity. I couldn't stand. 6 months, she said quietly. That's how long it's been going on, Marcus and Natalie. They weren't exactly discreet at the company Christmas party. I stared at the folder without opening it. Inside were photos, texts, proof of the betrayal so complete it made breathing difficult. My twin sister, and my fiancé, half a year of lies while I plan her wedding, while I introduced him as Zoe's future stepfather. Why tell me now? My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. Because I have a sister too, Elaine replied, and what Natalie did, what they both did, it's unforgivable. When I finally opened the folder at home, after tucking Zoe into bed with promises that everything would be okay, I understood the full extent of their deception. Natalie had been systematically inserting herself into every aspect of my life, my relationship, my home, even my daughter's affection. There were photos of her and Marcus together, dating back months, screenshots of text messages planning how she would become me. But worse than any photo was a recorded conversation from Marcus's work phone. I played it. With trembling hands, Natalie's voice, she doesn't deserve you. She doesn't deserve any of this. I've always been the one who understood you. Marcus, we need to be careful. If she finds out, Natalie, she won't. Naomi trusts me completely. Besides, she's so busy with Zoe and work, she barely notices when I borrow her clothes, her perfume, her life. The coldness in my sister's voice made me physically ill. This wasn't impulsive or reckless, her usual patterns. This was calculated, deliberate. She hadn't just wanted Marcus, she'd wanted to be me. I remembered how she volunteered to handle all the wedding arrangements these past few months. How she'd suggested I change my hairstyle to match hers for twin photos of the wedding. How she'd slowly replaced items in my closet with ones that matched her taste. It hadn't been sisterly help, it had been infiltration. That night, my mother came over after Zoe was asleep. She sat across from me at my kitchen table, her eyes swollen from crying. I should have seen it, she whispered. All those times she came to family dinners without you, making excuses about why you couldn't make it, testing to see if we would notice. Did you? I asked, the question sharp enough to draw blood. Did you notice it wasn't me? My mother's silence was answer enough. How could you not know your own daughter? The pain erupted before I could stop it. How could Marcus not know his own fiancé? Am I that forgettable? No. Sweetheart, she reached for my hand. But Natalie, she studied you her whole life, and she was always so jealous of what you had. What I had? A child I'm raising alone? A job that barely pays the bills. What exactly did she envy? My mother's eyes met mine. Your goodness, Naomi, your capacity to love, the way people trust you. Natalie could never understand how to earn those things, so she decided to steal them instead. The next day, I called in sick to work and dropped Zoe at my mother's. Then I drove to Marcus's workplace, my sister's workplace too. I reminded myself bitterly, they'd met when I brought Zoe to the company picnic 3 years ago. I sat in the parking lot, watching the modern glass building with its revolving doors. My plan had seemed so clear at home. Confront them both. Make them admit what they'd done in front of their colleagues. Shatter their reputations like they'd shattered my trust. But as I reached for my door handle, my phone rang. Zoe's school, Ms. Williams? We have a situation. Someone just tried to pick up Zoe claiming to be you. My blood froze. Who? A woman who looked exactly like you. But your mother already called us this morning with explicit instructions that only she was authorized for pickup today. When we refused, this woman became agitated. Natalie. I broke every traffic law getting to Zoe's school. By the time I arrived, police were already there. My sister sat in the back of a patrol car, her expression a perfect mirror of my own face when wounded, except her tears were fake. Mine never were. She tried to take my daughter. I told the officer, my voice breaking. After everything else she's stolen from me, she tried to take my child. The officer looked between us, visibly uncomfortable with our identical faces. She claims there's been a misunderstanding, that she's actually Zoe's mother. And you're? I have Zoe's birth certificate in my glove compartment, I interrupted. I have photos of her birth. I have a C-section scar she doesn't have. I can prove who I am. My sister watched me through the patrol car window. her expression changing from false distress to something darker. Something I'd never seen on my own face before: hatred. That evening, after giving my statement to the police and getting a temporary restraining order, my phone lit up with Marcus's number. I almost declined before realizing this might be my only chance to understand. "How could you not know?" I asked the moment I answered. "How could you sleep beside her, kiss her, plan to marry her, and not realize she wasn't me?" His breathing was unsteady. "Naomi, please. It wasn't like that. I knew something was different. But she said you were stressed about the wedding, taking new medication. Stop lying." My voice shattered the quiet of my apartment. "I heard the recordings, Marcus. I saw the pictures. This didn't start with her pretending to be me. It started with you both betraying me." Silence stretched between us. When he finally spoke, his voice was small. "She approached me after that fight we had about postponing the wedding because of your mother's health. She listened in a way you hadn't in months. One thing led to another, and then she started suggesting things. Ways to hurt you. Ways to take what was yours. And you went along with it. Not a question. At first it was just an affair," he admitted, each word a fresh cut. "But Natalie, she kept pushing boundaries. Wearing your clothes when we met. Using your perfume. Then one day she showed up with her hair exactly like yours and suggested, 'What if we just replaced you? What if she became you?' She said you'd never fought for anything in your life, you just let it happen." Something inside me snapped at his words. A lifetime of making room for Natalie's bigger personality. Of forgiving her transgressions. Of being the responsible twin. The steady one, the one who wouldn't cause trouble. "She was wrong," I said, my voice suddenly calm. "And so were you." After hanging up, I made 2 more calls. One to a lawyer. One to the local news station that had already caught wind of the twin bride scandal. If you're shocked by what my sister and ex-fiancé did, like and follow right now. In the final part, I'll reveal exactly how I reclaimed my identity and my dignity in a way no one, especially not Natalie, ever expected. Because my sister was about to learn a painful lesson. Sometimes the quietest person in the room is the most dangerous when pushed too far. The news interview request was a calculated risk. Privacy had always been my shield. But now I needed visibility and needed people to see the real me, to know the difference. "Are you sure about this?" my mother asked as I prepared for the camera crew. "Once your story is public, there's no taking it back." I looked at the restraining order on my kitchen table. It felt like tissue paper, a flimsy barrier between my daughter and a woman who'd already proven she'd stop at nothing. "I'm done hiding. Mom, Natalie thrives in shadows and secrets. It's time to bring everything into the light." The reporter, Christine, arrived with sensitivity I hadn't expected. She set up in my living room, where photos of Zoe and me line the walls, proof of our life together, our history. "Before we begin," Christine said, "I should tell you that your sister has also contacted us. She's claiming you're the one with mental health issues, that you've been impersonating her." A cold laugh escaped me. "Perfect, interview her too." Christine's eyebrows shot up. "You want us to air her side?" "I'm counting on it," I replied. "Because unlike my sister, I have something she'll never have." "What's that?" "Proof." The interview aired 3 days later. Me, composed despite my breaking heart, sharing the documented evidence of their betrayal, the photos, the texts, and most damning of all, the audio recordings, where Natalie and Marcus explicitly plotted to take over my life. I didn't cry on camera. I didn't rage, I simply told the truth. That my identical twin had been systematically attempting to replace me. That the man I trusted had participated in this erasure. That they'd nearly succeeded. As predicted, Natalie couldn't resist giving her own interview immediately after, wearing an outfit identical to mine, her hair styled the same way, even mimicking my speech patterns. But the damage was done. The public had seen the evidence, had heard her own voice plotting against me. Most importantly, they'd seen the fundamental difference between us, that no physical similarity could hide the emptiness behind her eyes when she spoke about family, about love, about belonging. The company where they both worked called me the next day. "We've terminated their employment. Effective immediately," the HR director said. "And we want to offer you a position in our marketing department." Your grace under pressure was remarkable. "We could use someone with your strength." My laugh was genuine this time. "Thank you. But I've recently received several other offers." This was true. My inbox was flooded with messages of support, including 3 job opportunities better than any I'd had before. The interview had an unexpected consequence. Former friends and colleagues of Natalie began reaching out, sharing stories of other identity thefts, other impersonations, minor ones. Over years, borrowing my identity for job interviews, using my credentials, living temporarily as me whenever her own mistakes caught up with her. I'd been disappearing in pieces for much longer than I'd realized. The district attorney called next. We're pursuing criminal charges for identity theft and fraud. The attempted kidnapping of your daughter alone carries significant penalties. Hearing this should have brought satisfaction. Instead, I felt a hollow ache. This was still my twin, still the girl who'd shared my birthday candles, who'd held my hand on our first day of school. That evening, my lawyer delivered the final piece of my plan. The judge granted your petition, she said. Your sister cannot legally use your name anymore, even casually. And given the evidence of sustained identity theft, the court has mandated she make significant physical changes, hair color, styling, etc., to ensure she can no longer pass as you. I thanked her and hung up. Staring at my reflection, for the first time in my life my face would truly be my own. 2 weeks later came the moment I'd been both dreading and anticipating. The court-mandated family dinner, where Natalie would be allowed supervised contact with her mother. My presence wasn't required, but I chose to attend to finish this. The restaurant was upscale. Private. My mother arrived first, her anxiety visible in her fidgeting hands. I sat across from her, dressed simply but confidently. When Natalie walked in, escorted by her attorney, I almost didn't recognize her. Her hair was cut short and dyed dark brown. Court orders had required the change, but the defiant tilt of her chin was pure Natalie. She slid into the seat beside her mother without acknowledging me. You've ruined my life, she said finally, eyes fixed on her water glass. Are you happy now? That was never my goal. I replied quietly, no? Then why the interviews? Why the restraining orders? Why all of it? Her voice rose. You've always had everything I wanted. Like what, Natalie? A daughter I raise alone? A moderate income? What exactly did I have that justified stealing my identity? Stealing my fiancé? Belonging. She burst out, tears suddenly streaming down her face. You've always belonged. Mom loved you more. Dad respected you more. You had real friends, not people who only wanted something from you. You fit in your own skin. The raw pain in her voice silenced me. My mother reached for Natalie's hand, but she pulled away. You were the good twin. The reliable twin. The one everyone preferred, she continued, her voice breaking. Do you know what it's like to be constantly compared to someone with the exact same face? And always found wanting? Yes, I said simply, I do now. Her eyes finally met mine. Confusion displacing anger. That's what you did to me. Nat. You made me question my own worth. Made me wonder why the man I loved and the sister I trusted couldn't tell the difference between real love and a counterfeit version. I took a deep breath and slid a small wrapped package across the table. What's this? She asked suspiciously. Open it. Inside was a framed photo from our 16th birthday, before the competition between us had hardened into something toxic. Two identical girls with arms around each other, genuinely smiling. I'm not giving you my forgiveness today, I said clearly. I don't know if I ever will, but I am giving you this reminder that once we knew how to love each other without trying to become each other. Natalie stared at the photo, one finger tracing the silver frame. The DA has agreed to reduce charges if you complete intensive therapy, I continued. Not because you deserve leniency, but because Zoe deserves a future where she isn't afraid of her own aunt. Why would you do that for me after everything? I'm not doing it for you, I replied. I'm doing it for me because belonging isn't just about being accepted by others. It's about being at peace with who you are. My mother wiped tears from her eyes. My girls, she whispered, both so strong in completely different ways. As I stood to leave, Natalie called out, Naomi? Will you ever forgive me? I paused, feeling the weight of our shared history and separate futures. The bonds were already broken, I said, echoing the words I'd spoken in that church. But maybe, someday we can build something new. Something honest. 3 months later, I moved into a new home with Zoe, a fresh start in a neighborhood where nobody knew us as the twins. I took the marketing position, surprising myself with how much I enjoyed the work, and I started dating again carefully, mindfully. Natalie completed her court-mandated therapy and moved across the country. We exchanged brief texts on birthdays and holidays. It's not forgiveness yet, but it's a beginning. Marcus tried to contact me several times, claiming he'd made a terrible mistake. I never responded. Some betrayals can't be undone and some lessons shouldn't be forgotten. Last week, Zoe asked about her aunt. Will we ever see her again? Maybe someday. I answered truthfully. When she learns that belonging isn't something you take from someone else, it's something you build within yourself. As for me, I finally understand that having worth isn't about being chosen by a man who couldn't tell the difference between love and obsession. It isn't about being the good twin or the perfect mother or the forgiving victim. It's about standing your ground when the world tries to erase you. It's about fighting for your place even when those who should love you most try to take it. Because belonging is being respected. Belonging is being seen for who you truly are. And belonging, I've learned, sometimes means drawing a boundary that even your own reflection cannot cross. If this story touched you, please like, follow, and share with someone who needs to hear that their identity is worth protecting. Comment below if you've ever had to stand up for yourself against someone who tried to diminish your worth. And remember, sometimes the quietest person in the room has the strongest boundaries when pushed too far.